Hey everybody, and welcome back to the board meeting. Today I'm doing a top 10 list. These are my top 10 games of 2019. And you might be thinking it's 2021. Why would you be doing a top 10 games of 2019? Two reasons. First of all, I didn't have a channel until this year. So, of course, I didn't do my top 10 games of 2019. And second of all, I think doing it later makes this list a little bit more viable as well. Because if I did this list right at the end of 2019, the list would have been very different because I didn't get all the chance to play all the different games that I would have wanted to, and I still haven't. I am only one person. But the thing about this is, I was looking at games to do my top 10 games of 2020. First, I was like, well, let's look at 2019. And I was blown away. There are so many good games in this year, 2019. I absolutely love so many games. I thought about doing a top 50 games of 2019, and all 50 of those games would have been really, really good options. Instead, I condensed it down to a top 10. But I'm at the end of this video, kind of like my solo video, my top 10 solo games. I'm going to have my 20 through 11 in the outro. Just not going to talk about those games, but they deserve some love as well. So I'll give them some love at the end of the video. But let's just jump into my 10th favorite game of 2019, and I have them all right here. So we're just going to do one big live shot. That is Hadara, and this is like a civilization building game. It's a lot like Seven Wonders. This is kind of a Seven Wonders killer for me, and it's a civilization drafting game, and it's very colorful. I really like the look of this game when it's all set up. It's very colorful. You're drafting cards into your tableau, and the more cards of a certain color card you have, the cheaper those cards are for you in the future to buy. It's a really good drafting game. Let's go to number 9. We're going to be moving through pretty fast because I've talked about a lot of these games on a bunch of other lists. Number 9 is Horrified. This is a cooperative game that you are playing as sort of heroes trying to save a town from these monsters. And they're all monsters from the Universal Studios. You got your Frankenstein, your Invisible Man, your Creature from the Black Lagoon, and you're just trying to save civilians and also kill or destroy these monsters, whatever you want. It's a really good game, and it's one of my favorite cooperative games. It's right up there with Pandemic for me. So let's move on to number 8, which is probably the most popular game on this entire list. This is Wingspan. This was the hit of 2019. It swept all the awards for game of the year and all that other stuff. It's a really good game, and it has gotten some hate from people. I think that people were sick of it winning so much and people talking about it, but it deserved the hype, in my opinion. It's this you're getting these birds into your aviary or whatever that is called, and there are 4 different actions you can take. You can build a bird, you can lay eggs, you can build a card, or you can gather resources. This is just a really good game, and the thing about it is the more birds you have in those rows, that row's action becomes that much stronger. So throughout the game, it ramps up so much. By the end, your one action is just like, okay, I'm doing this, and then I'll do this, and then I do this, and then I do this. It's really good. I really like this game. I've got the first 2 expansions for it. I haven't tried out the latest one, but the first one was pretty good. Just adds a bunch more bird cards. More birds, the better, is what the saying is, I believe. Next, we have what is we on? 7. We're going to the West Kingdom. This is Paladins of the West Kingdom. This is the second game of that trilogy that I really, really like. I like all the games in this trilogy. They're all really good. This is the heaviest out of those 3. This is a worker placement game. And you have a bunch of these workers, but all the workers are different colors. And there's spots on your player board that need the certain colored workers. And it's kind of like this combo game, because you place a worker there, and you'll get a green worker then. And then you can place that green worker over here to do this building. And it's really good. This probably deserves to be higher on the list for me because of how much I like it. But it's kind of hard to get to the table. It's a pretty heavy game, but it is also a big game. You have your own player board, and then you have a a board for everybody to kind of play on as well. So it's, if you're playing a 4-player game of this, you're gonna need like a pool-sized table to play on. It's really, really good though, and I really like it at 2 players. It's also good solo mode in it as well. Next, number 6 is It's a Wonderful World, and this is a card drafting civilization game. I know I just talked about Hadara. This is different, but you are building your civilization with these different cards, and you're going to be drafting these cards. And the cards you draft, you're going to either try and build those cards, or you're going to recycle those cards for the resources. And the cards that you build actually go over to your civilization, and then when you gather resources later in the round, those cards will actually give you even more resources to start building even more cards. And this is one of those games that at the first round, you might be building a couple of your cards that you drafted. And by the last round, you are building probably most, if not all, of those cards. If you math it right. You have to math it out and plan it. It's really, really fun game. Highly suggested. I also have the one of the expansions in here. I can't remember what that's, Corruption and something or another. That makes the game even better. Turns it from a 5-player game into a 7, I believe. And it's simultaneous drafting, so the more players usually doesn't cause the game to be that much longer. Let's move on to number 5, which is the smallest game on this list. This is a card game I've talked about plenty on this channel. That is The Crew, The Quest for Planet 9. This is a trick-taking cooperative game where this was actually the first trick-taking game I'd ever played, but now I own a ton of trick-taking games because this kind of inspired me. I'm like, maybe I really like trick-taking. So, in this game, you are going to be playing hands of cards, and you need certain players to win the tricks that involve certain cards. So, say Greg needs to win the pink 3. Then, when the pink 3 is out in that hand of cards on the table, Greg needs to make sure he wins that trick, and then that would be a mission, an accomplishment. And there's 50 different scenarios in this game, and we haven't played all of them, but we've played a ton of them, and this is a game I've played a bunch of. And the sequel for this is coming out soon. This is a space themed game. The next one's underwater themed or something. I'm not sure what they're going to do with it, but that's already been pre-ordered for months now. Great game. So let's go on to the next one. Number 4, we have a legacy game. And this is a big game. This is Clank Legacy. And if you haven't played Clank, Clank is this deck building kind of push your luck game where you are going to be, you have a board as well with your deck building that makes it really interesting to me. But in Clank, you're going to be moving down into this dungeon, trying to be as quiet or not make any clank. And you're going to be moving down, trying to collect different treasures, getting different points, and then making your way back up to the top without basically dying. Because the more clank you have, the more noise the dragon hears from you, and they'll be attacking. And all your cubes will be put into a bag that you're going to be pulling out. And if your cubes are being pulled out, that's your health. So every time your cube gets pulled, that's you got hit. And I think you have 10 health points in this game. But this is the legacy version of this, and I won't show any pictures of this one just because it's legacy. I don't want to spoil anything. But this takes that game and adds this amazing story element. This is a hilarious game. I have so much fun playing with this. Bad thing is we are on the last game. We've been stuck on the last game for the last 6-7 months now. We really need to play that last mission. But hopefully we get to that soon. Let's move on to number 3. Sorry, I just bumped the camera. And number 3 is also a game I've talked about plenty, and that is Marvel Champions. This is an LCG from Fantasy Flight Games, and in this game you are going to be picking a hero to play as, and then you're going to build a deck of cards around that hero. So you have 4 different aspects that you can play or can add to that deck. There's like aggression, leadership, protection, And you're going to choose one of those aspects to add cards from that aspect into the heroes deck. And you want to kind of combo it and make it really a cohesive deck to do the most damage to this villain. You also pick the villain that you're going to be fighting up against, and that villain, you almost deck build around that villain as well. You pick different scenarios to add to that villain's deck, and you just take that villain and you try to bring his health down to 0. It's a really good game. I much prefer it solo. I don't really like it multiplayer, but I play it a ton solo. Next, let's go to Circadian's First Light. This is my number 2 game of this year. In any other year, this would have been a pretty easy number 1. This is a dice placement game, and I love dice placement games. They're going to be rolling dice secretly behind this screen and then picking what you want those dice to go do. You can either have them farm for resources for you, which are going to be very scarce, or you're going to send those dice out to do different things on the player board. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to interact with these aliens, basically. You're trying to get, I don't know, you're doing something with them. You're negotiating with them, just trying to make peace almost. And you're just going to these spots, and since you didn't know what other people picked, you reveal your board, and then you start taking turns placing these dice around these boards. And people are probably going to take your spot that you want. It's just a really fun game. I love dice placement. This is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, dice placement game. So that means a lot. Next, my number 1 game of 2019 is kind of a series of games, sort of. That is Unmatched. Unmatched first came out in 2019, and this is the first one that came out, the Volume 1, the Battle of Legends Volume 1, which has all of the different characters. You got Alice, Medusa, King Arthur, Sinbad. You can play as any of these characters and go up against any of the other characters. And also different expansions. I think Bigfoot and Robin Hood came out this year as well. It's almost like an LCG, but it has miniatures. But each of these characters, you pick one, and you're going to be battling up against another one. And you're going to be using hand management and to move your characters around the board and attacking, defending. It's a really great system, and the things that they can do with this game are endless. There is a ton of characters already for this game. A ton more are planned. They've got the Marvel sets that are set to come out sometime pretty soon here, sometime in summer. This is just a really good system. I own everything for this game, and I will continue to buy everything automatically when the new sets come out for Unmatched. But that is my number 1 game of 2019. What did you guys think of this list? What are some of your guys' top games from this year? To me, it was an amazing year. Not just for this top 10, for all of these. And stay tuned for the outro. I'm going to have my 20 through 11 again. I don't know what to say about this. This was one of my favorite years in all of board gaming, I think. But that will wrap up this video. We'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you all for watching. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe to see more weekly content from me, Shane, at the board meeting in the future. I hope you all have an amazing day, and take care, everyone.